guys are getting injured too frequently in Philly. But if they could ever get their best 11 on each side of the ball, they're a force to be reckoned with. And if it happens this year, they're going to be one of the last teams standing in the NFC.
I don't disagree with much of what you said there. I'm not sure I'd put them in the top 3 or 4, but yeah, definitely like dancing around that top 5, 6. You're right, when they're healthy. Added to the fact we saw a quarterback who we now know, and listen, I already knew, but I hope the rest of the public knows, he can carry the team on his back. That's special. It's special. If the play fails, the players fail, whatever it is, Philadelphia can rest easy and go, yeah, we'll still be able to create some offense because we got this big freak number 11, Carson Wentz, back here. So they have to be excited about that. And you're right, injuries decimated them last year. I think so much of the coaching staff. Jim Schwartz, a D coordinator, Doug Peterson, the head coach, the offensive coordinator. They got a great way about them, a great energy as a football team. And the injuries, led to their destruction last year as far as them having to fight through some tough times and barely get into the playoffs. But I do think they've really, since the Super Bowl to now, have done a phenomenal job of kind of reorganizing their roster. It wasn't like a rebuild or anything like that, but they've flipped a lot of positions, have some new pieces in there, and Mike, I think even to your injury point, have covered their butts a little bit this year with, wait, if Deshaun Jackson gets hurt, well, we can't let that happen again. It ruined our offense last year. Oh, wait, we drafted a Jalen Reagor. Oh, wait, we signed a Marquise Goodwin Jr., in free agency. Right? So
he opted out.
But he opted out, so he's not there. But they tried to cover their butts with that to go, wait, we don't need to do that. We don't need to change our offense now. We have enough moving pieces. So I do think offensively, they're going to be better this year. But they need Alshon Jeffrey healthy, and they need the rookie Jalen Reagor to show up. And their defense, I'm excited about that too because we'll get into it. They've made some big moves there on that side of the ball.
And, they're one of the teams that I pegged when we did our Antonio Brown draft, the teams that should or are most likely to sign him. I could see the Eagles developing an interest in Antonio Brown once he gets through the first 8 games of the season, the suspension ends, and he's available if they have any injury needs at that receiver position. And we saw last year what Carson Wentz did with a bunch of guys we didn't even know who they were. All due respect. I still don't remember who they were after they stepped up and got it done, but it was Wentz's leadership that made it happen. And this Eagles team, I think if Wentz can stay healthy again, and if he can stay healthy in the playoff game, and it was an illegal hit from Jadeveon Clowney that wasn't flagged, he wasn't fined, it's still amazing to me that there was no consequence for that hit where he went in hot, helmet down, and concussed Carson Wentz and knocked him out of that wild card game.
Yep.
If Wentz can stay healthy and healthy into the postseason, this is a team that can do a lot. Miles Sanders currently injured, has a week-to-week lower body injury. And they've got injuries on defense. They've got injuries on offense. But they always find a way, and they seem to play best when their backs are up against the wall. It happened in 2018. It happened in 2019. And it would have been very easy in 2018 to just fold the tents. Hey, we just won the Super Bowl. We don't need to try to scratch and claw out of this hole. Last year could have been very easy. Both years, they have that resolve, they have that will, and they are dangerous in December. And if they could go into December with a better record this time around, that's when they could maybe separate from everybody else and be a really good team. I got a pop quiz for you.
All right,
pop quiz time.
Yeah.
Who was the Eagles' leading receiver during their 4-game winning streak to clinch the division title last year, Chris?
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like, there's 2 names right away that pop to my mind. I think are you tricking me here? So because it might be a running back. It could be Boston Scott, but it could be Greg Ward. I'm going to go with Greg Ward because I don't think you're trying to trick me at 8:05 Eastern time in the morning.
I don't know the answer. Pete does. Pete, what is it?
Oh, it's Dallas Goedert.
It is Dallas Goedert.
Right.
Dallas Goedert, 252. Greg Ward, 209. Well, Boston Scott. So you got 2 of the top 3. You did all right there.
Thank you. Well, but there again, just speaks to, hey, we need Miles Sanders healthy. If you're an Eagles fan, you need him healthy. I think running back position is, lacks an explosive guy other than Miles Sanders in that offense. So I think he's very important. But, the tight end play. It's real here in Philadelphia. It really is. You could argue it might be the best duo in football. I haven't thought about it much, but as I sit here and just talk it, I think it is the best duo in football. So, again, if they can keep those receivers healthy, and I think that's what's cool about, Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor. Because I think Jalen Reagor, again, Doug Peterson, Andy Reid's school of coaching. He's got his Tyreek Hill now. Here he goes. Whether I liked Jalen Reagor as a first-round pick, it doesn't matter. He's going to be that guy to me. Speed sweeps, goes, screen routes, things like that. Stress the defense out and do all that. And then Jalen Hurts, again, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw some sort of Taysom Hill package as the year went on to where he might run, throw option, whatever it may be. But I like that added element to their offense that was, already pretty good. But to have that element to keep defenses off balance and the trickeration and things like that, it's just going to make their base offense even better this year.
And by the way, you mentioned that word trickeration. I had somebody email me yesterday to say that's another Simsism that we are giving him a pass on. Trickeration is a word that's been around football for a while. So this isn't a Chris Sims
You're right.
creation.
It's part of the football dictionary. You're right. Yes, it is. Yeah. I didn't come up with that word out of my own stupidity. That was something I've heard my NFL coaches say throughout the years.
Yeah, I just want to be clear because now here's what happens. There's two levels of the Simsism game. Level one is noticing the things that you say that are made-up words flowing from stupidity, and then my stupidity in not catching them in real time and calling you out on them. So I get emails pointing out that, hey, you idiot, you didn't notice what the other idiot said. You're both idiots.
Yes.
So that's the new game. It's not just your made-up words, it's my failure to spot your made-up words, but just the person who asked me about trickeration yesterday, it is an actual word, at least in the football dictionary, maybe not Merriam-Webster. All right, let's rank the weapons for 2020 by way of receiving yards. You mentioned Jalen Reagor. We've got Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. How do you make them fall in order based upon how they're going to produce?
Well, I still think Zach Ertz is going to be the guy that leads the team in, receptions, right? He'll still get the most targets, probably have the most schemes around him, and Carson Wentz has a comfort level in throwing him the ball. After that, that's where it gets into the Dallas Goedert, Alshon Jeffrey conversation. I think second there. As far as who's that next guy to accumulate stats. But this is the beauty of this, Mike. I mean, it's hard to rank them because I just think they're going to be by committee. It's not going to be that type of thing where you're going to look at one guy having, he's got 1,300 yards and the rest of the receivers and tight ends are all around 300 and 400 yards. No, I think what we could see is Alshon Jeffrey around 700 yards, Deshaun Jackson around 700-something yards, Jalen Reagor around there as well, with Goddard, with Ertz flirting with 1,000 and Goddard having 600 or 700 yards. That's what's going to be awesome about them. That's to me when an offense becomes really damn good is you go, we can't peg anybody to anything. We don't know where the ball's going, what formation they're going to get in. We have no idea. And they have a lot of guys that can cause some problems there. So, I don't know. I know that I copped out of that answer, but I don't know that one. It's tough.
I'm going to take a different path here.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why we're having a hard time ranking these guys is we have to factor in the injury.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
We have to take into account the possibility that it's going to be somebody not even on the board
that
ends up making an impact because so many of these guys get hurt. And our good friend Vince, the Cowboys fan, who reacted very negatively to our comments about Dalvin Cook last hour because he believes we should be clamoring for Cook to walk out of camp because we were very pro Ezekiel Elliott holdout last year. He chimes in saying the Eagles start the season with two dinosaurs at starting receiver, and Jackson will get hurt again. Like I tell all the Eagles fans, what did he make it through? 10 plays last year? Dinosaur. Well, that dinosaur can still run. And we saw it week one last year against Washington when they were down. And I spoke to Carson Wentz after that game. It was Deshaun Jackson providing that spark.
Yeah.
And we got a glimpse of what he could do. And, Chris, I was all over the Eagles last year.
I know.
said if Carson Wentz stays healthy, start to finish, this is a Super Bowl team. The problem is he's the only one who stayed healthy. Jackson, it was that following Sunday night. I think it was the Falcons game.
Yeah.
A little cameo appearance. Something's not right. And he never
right
was
away,
back
yeah.
again. He was back for one little appearance where it was obvious he had to get surgery and shut it down. But if there's a way that they can find his 33-year-old frame, which is not a very large frame, to stay healthy, he could be spectacular for that team. And if it's not him, maybe it's someone else because What Carson Wentz did last year with that roster they threw together on the fly when everyone was injured, it was amazing. And that carries over. Does it not, Chris? Does that confidence that you get when you get it done, that 4-game winning streak to win the division, does that not elevate your game, how you view yourself, how others outside the team view you, and you bring that into the next season?
Definitely, yes. He's coming in flying high, feeling like, hey, I'm the man, and whatever the circumstances are, I feel like I can lead us through this tough time. And really, to me, the big thing would be, and of course we've heard, some of the rumblings going into last year about, Carson maybe not being the best teammate and leader that way, not like Nick Foles and all those type of things. Well, I think it'll go a long way in the locker room too, and the team and the players there to just go, man, whatever we thought about Carson Wentz, he's the freaking man for what he did at the end of last year. And that'll make him, he'll be viewed in a different light. I think the coaches and everybody did that already. But, yeah, I think there's something to build on there. And when they go back and watch film this time of the year of last season, they're going to go, damn, look at some of the things Carson Wentz did, and we didn't even have our starting team out there. So that's where it's special, and really, offensively, if they can stay healthy, yeah, it's a big thing. We know that. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey are dinosaurs. But I do think they have a little more insurance behind them this year, at least to where if they are banged up, the offense won't be in the spot it was last year. Great offensive line. We didn't even talk about them, and they lost Brandon Brooks, but thank God they got Jason Peters. They move him to right guard, and their first-round Andre Dillard's out there. And we haven't even talked about their defense. They had a top 10 defense in football last year, right, Mike? And they got Javon Hargrave, and Malik Jackson's coming back, and they signed Darius Slay. Yeah, they lost Malcolm Jenkins, but they signed some other guys, Will Parks and things like that. So I just look at the Eagles to echo what you said early on and go, this is one of the better teams in football with one of the better coaching staffs and a top 10 quarterback, and that's why they're dangerous.
I'm very intrigued by what Darius Slay will do at the cornerback position for the Eagles, given that they essentially stole him. When you look at what the Rams gave up to get Jalen Ramsey, and I understand Jalen Ramsey is a better player than Darius Slay, but 2 1s and a 4 with no new contract for Jalen Ramsey is what the Rams gave up.
Yep.
When you look at what Seattle gave up to get Jamal Adams, I know it's a different position in the secondary, but it's still the secondary. The Eagles got Darius Slay from the Lions for a 3 and a 5. They signed him to a contract that isn't over the top, tremendous market value. It's a fair contract for both sides. They may have something here. And just because he wears the Eagles helmet now, I worry about him getting injured, but let's assume he stays healthy. What does he do for that defense?
Well, he finally gives them this shutdown corner that they really have not had. I mean, this has been a little bit of an issue for their football team. They've been trying to find guys to fill that corner void for a number of years. They got Ronald Darby. They drafted the Sidney Jones kid from Washington. He's never been healthy. So, to me, this is where Jim Schwartz will be able to get creative, too. Because now he's got a guy to go, wait, I can play man with you and do all crazy things with these other guys and feel comfortable with that matchup. So that's where he's a game changer, let alone if they have a very deep defensive line to go along with it, where you just go, man, this is another thing where you go, if they stay healthy on the defensive side of the ball, they got size and speed up front on the D-line. Corner play with a Darius Slay is to another level now. The only area of concern I look at their defense is go linebacker a little bit. There's some unproven commodities there, but it's hard to have a perfect roster.
Yeah, and they are moving in that direction. I think you're right. The depth is more of an issue this year. It's more of a concern. It's more of a focal point. You want to be better prepared for the inevitability of the injuries, and the injuries have already happened for the Eagles in training camp. Best case, worst case, Philadelphia Eagles 2020, Chris, what do you got?
Well, we're in the state of Pennsylvania. We did Pittsburgh yesterday. I mean, the absolute best case, I could see the Eagles in the Super Bowl. There's no doubt. I mean, they're just too many game changers on their team for not to be able to think that, let alone, the meat and potatoes of their team's pretty damn good, too, with a coach that's aggressive and all that. What?
In it or win it?
I'll say win it. I'll say win it. I think they can win it.
Beating Andy Reid, wouldn't that be a Super Bowl? The Eagles and the Chiefs, Andy Reid against his old team?
That would be unbelievable. It really would be. But, yeah, I mean, I think they're in that class of a football team, certainly. And then when you say the bottom or the floor, what's the worst-case scenario? Man. I mean, just missing out on the playoffs. But I just think within that division, I look at Washington, I look at the Giants and go, there's 4 games. If the Eagles are healthy, they should win all 4. They're better than the Giants and Washington right now. I know it's the NFL and it's not easy to say, but worst case is like barely missed the playoffs. I don't think it can get much worse than that.
Worst case is a rash of injuries, including Carson Wentz, because there's no Nick Foles on the roster, and I don't know that Jalen Hurts can step right in and make a difference as a rookie. Nate Sudfeld, I know they really like him. He missed all of last year with a wrist injury that he suffered in the preseason, but I don't have faith in the quarterbacks because I haven't seen it. Maybe they could change my mind, but worst case would be Wentz gets injured and it just all falls apart for the Eagles because they don't have somebody who can come in and get it done. And the way Wentz plays, that risk of injury is always going to be there. All right, let's take a break.
Wait, what's your best case? Do you think they can go to the Super Bowl and win it?
I think they can go to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure they can win it, but I think they can go there. It would be one hell of a Super Bowl if it was Chiefs against Eagles. I don't want to just hand the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. I think the Eagles would have a hard time with whoever the best team in the AFC is, unless somebody sneaks through, like, when the Patriots knocked off the Dolphins in '85 only to get killed by the Bears 2 weeks later.
Right.
Something like that would set it up for the Eagles. But the best that the AFC has to offer, I think the Eagles would have a hard time. So I can see them getting to the Super Bowl, not necessarily winning it. And the worst case for me, wheels come off if Wentz gets injured in 6-10 type of a season, maybe 5-11. But here's hoping that doesn't happen and the Eagles can get back to a level that we've seen them at very recently.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.